Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm 30 years old. At a young age, I witnessed the deaths of my parents. Their death in the vehicle accident left me without any relatives to care for me, therefore I was placed in an orphanage. Prior to my adoption, I remained there for around 5 years. My life took a turn for the better after I learned that my adopted parents were billionaires. They chose to keep my adoption a secret because they didn't want it to be a major scandal. When they accomplished nice deeds, they would rather not draw attention to themselves. My adoptive parents decided to take a business trip throughout Europe after I was all grown up and on my own. My now ex-husband, Larry, and I met around that time. We had an instant connection when we met in university. Larry became more appealing to me after we had a few discussions. He was an upbeat, kind guy who put me at ease. Our casual dates quickly blossomed into something more substantial. We seemed to have found the ideal partner, but there was one hitch. Larry's family despised me. Larry and I didn't meet until after we both graduated from college. Before he introduced me to his parents, he made sure we both had secure employment. And did my best to make a good impression because Larry had warned me that his family might be judgmental about the individuals their children dated. Meeting them for the first time made me really anxious. By that point, Larry and I had been in a committed relationship for close to 6 years. His parents may have some issues with this because they didn't know me when I was just his girlfriend. The day before our meeting with Larry's parents is something I'll never forget. "They're going to despise me, Larry," I muttered under my breath, suffering from anxiety. A promise from Larry was that they wouldn't. He told me, "Don't you think they'll be shocked to find out we're engaged?" "Excuse me?" I inquired. "Well, yeah, but I don't think it will be that big of a deal," responded the man. "Are you fooling me? You were concerned about introducing me to them due to your knowledge of their critical nature. Now you believe that informing them that I am your fiancé will not exacerbate the situation." With some skepticism, I inquired, "I mean, come on, does it even matter if they do pass judgment?" "I don't think it matters to you, but maybe it does to me. In their presence, you appear to be extremely cautious at all times," Larry remarked. "I promise it won't change anything for me, Ella," said the man. "Sure, whatever you think. Perhaps we shouldn't announce our engagement too soon, though. I proposed waiting a month or two. If that makes you feel better, I'm okay with it," he added. "Either way is fine with me. For the time being, let's not tell anyone, just in case." Aspired for their approval, I declared, "You shouldn't be concerned." While firmly grasping my hand, he assured me, "I will always be by your side." I responded, "Thanks, Larry." I was terrified that his parents would reject me whenever I proposed that he tell them about me. Then I began to grasp the rationale behind it. Larry grew up in a rich household that enjoyed the finer things in life. For the same reason, they expected their children to date similarly wealthy people or those with even more money. Their expectations were too high for me to meet. I had kept my past from Larry at the time since I didn't consider it important. I figured it was best not to bring up my father's identity after I understood why he was scared to introduce me. I hoped they would appreciate me for my character and not my wealth. Little did I know that they would reject me if I tried to be myself around them. We went to a nice restaurant to meet Larry's parents. Upon entering, Larry firmly grasped my hand. To keep things under wraps, I sported my engagement band as a necklace rather than a finger jewel. It was important to me that no one should know that I was carrying the ring. We were seated at a table where Larry's parents appeared visibly distressed, since they were extremely punctual, and we were 5 minutes late. Larry had forewarned me about this. It seemed like we were in for a rough start from the get-go. His parents glanced at me briefly before frowning in what seemed like contempt. While they were chatting with Larry, they paid me no mind. Sitting there, I felt very insignificant and unnoticed. I felt compelled to flee as their indifference intensified. I remained silent until Larry made an effort to draw me out. "You can't treat me like way, Mom and Dad." As an icebreaker, Larry introduced Ella as his great girlfriend. "Hello there, it's a delight to meet you both," I remarked courteously. "Hi, I wish I could say the same," Larry's mom said with a chilly tone. "Mom, what?" Curious, Larry inquired. "I'm simply being honest," she stated with conviction. Uncle Larry then raised his voice. "So, Ella, I heard you and Larry met in college, right?" said he. "Indeed, it was. I mentioned that we had some classes together. How did you get into that university anyway?" "As far as I'm aware, it's quite pricey and not exactly easy to get into," he remarked, audibly suspicious. "Mom, I think that's enough," Larry cut in. "Larry, when you talk to your dad, don't use that language. It's a valid question," his mom stated with conviction. "Ella, please answer him." "A full scholarship was mine," I said. "I'm very grateful because I got to learn a lot, and of course I met Larry, which has been one of the best things that happened to me." "Undoubtedly, it is among the most beneficial events in your life. You require the kind of wealth that he possesses," his mother remarked angrily. "At least you have some brains because you're not that good-looking." "I'm satisfied. We are departing. Grab my hand, Ella," Larry urged. I was shocked by his parents' treatment of me as we walked out. People could be so blatantly nasty to me. It baffles me. I couldn't even respond. I was taken aback. There was total silence on the way home in the car. Larry was irate, and I did nothing but look at the window, unable to comprehend what had transpired. Larry was careful to check in with me when we returned home to see if I was all right, but I was at a loss for words. I had put forth the effort to sit correctly and dress appropriately. In an effort to put a good impression, I didn't order anything fancy. However, Amy and Adam seemed to have formed an opinion about me before I even spoke a word. After that, Larry stopped communicating with his parents. They sent him a text message accusing us of being rude for leaving the table during lunch. A month later, Larry finally responded by informing them of our engagement. Despite their displeasure, Larry threatened to cut off communication with them if they spoke ill of me. On the condition that they had final say, they promised to foot the bill for our nuptials. Obviously, Larry and I were not fond of that concept, so we decided to elope instead. Even though they were in Europe, my parents were aware of our choice. They were overjoyed to hear my good news and even sent a gift for Larry and me. Even though Larry was taken aback by the extremely costly artwork they provided us, I calmly explained that they could afford it. Therefore, it wasn't a major concern. At a party that Amy and Adam gave after our wedding, we ran into each other again. At their anniversary party, they extended an invitation to us. Although I was aware that they disliked me, I must admit that I was glad they welcomed me nevertheless. Unfortunately, no one paid any attention to me until we arrived. Just picture yourself ignored by 40 people if you think being ignored by 3 is horrible. There was no comparison. No one spoke to me all night long. Even though I remained near Larry, they would give me the silent treatment, walk away, or carry on chatting with Larry as if I hadn't said a word if I attempted to strike up a discussion with them. The night came to a close with me in tears. The way everyone treated me made me feel ashamed and repulsed. The partygoers requested speeches from Amy and Adam as the celebration drew to a close. I remained to listen despite my exhaustion and want to depart. Almost everyone in the room was thanked for being a part of their lives as they started their speech. That was the opening salvo, and they continued to hit me with more throughout the speech. At a certain point, I lost it because the guests were laughing along with them. I got up and walked out of the room, arranged for a ride home. Until Larry returned, I sobbed the entire way home. He appeared distressed and furious as he entered. "Why did you leave in such a manner? Do you have any idea how humiliating that was for me?" he asked. "Oh, really? How? Could you please clarify what you mean?" Perplexed, I inquired. "Ella, stop acting foolish. A number of the guests felt sorry for me since I was with you. But my parents scolded me. He added angrily, "Are you fooling me? What about the humiliation I felt?" My response was tinged with pain. "You could have tolerated that for a single night, Ella? I mean, come on, it was my parents' anniversary," he expounded. "Nobody paid any attention to me, and even your parents made fun of me throughout their speech. How can you think I can handle that?" I declared. "I don't necessarily agree with them, but you could have handled it better. If Larry had waited, he would have spoken with them later. How would I have benefited from that? I dislike being subjected to circumstances that merely embarrass me. The whole group was making fun of me. It's easy for you to claim it's no big problem because you've never had to feel that way." I added, "My parents are counting on you to apologize, and I would like one as well," he stated with conviction. "I'm not doing that unless they apologize to me first," I informed them. "It is unclear to me why an apology is necessary. I've always been your champion. What makes this situation any different?" Inquiring, he spoke up. "It's different because this time they embarrassed me, your wife, in front of everyone." "Perhaps my parents were correct about you," he remarked with a chill. "Perhaps your parents were also correct about me," I said. After that, Larry retired to the guest room for the night. I failed to grasp the rationale behind his abrupt transformation. Even when his parents shouted horrible things, Larry was the one who defended me. He clearly didn't care that I walked out. It would have told him how hurt I was. Larry avoided me for the following 7 days. Not only that, but his folks texted me terrible things, accusing me of being ungrateful and embarrassing. Larry repeatedly ignored my attempts to communicate with him. In spite of how embarrassing it was, I ultimately chose to apologize to him and his parents. I was prepared to do it because my love for Larry prevented me from wanting this to be our final goodbye. Following that, my situation deteriorated more. Upon retiring, Larry's parents began to hold weekly family dinners. I was invited the first time they hosted one, and Larry was always the one to invite me. Tensions rose in the room the moment I entered their home. Amy didn't see me immediately since she was getting ready, but the brothers of Adam and Larry sent me uncomfortable looks. While Larry was chatting with his family, no one came over to say anything, and I was left to my own devices. Amy came rushing over to me, visibly enraged, as soon as she saw me when she eventually made it downstairs. She became angry and snapped, asking, "What are you doing here?" "Excuse me." Shocked, I exclaimed, "Sorry, but I won't pardon you." "Why are you in my house?" she asked with an air of ultimatum. "Your dinner invitation was extended to us," I said. "No, that's incorrect. Larry was extended an invitation by myself. A family supper," she remarked angrily. "I'm Larry's wife, so I'm part of the family, aren't I?" Attempting to maintain composure, I inquired. "In no world." She spoke with an air of contempt, opining that an orphan like you had no place in this household. "Oh, really? How? You can't possibly consider that an excuse to exclude me," I exclaimed, my voice filled with disbelief. "When our children marry, we look into their backgrounds. Compared to my son, you are light years ahead. I will never accept you here," she remarked with an air of harshness. I responded, "You can't just judge me based on that," my voice tinged with hurt. "You're fat and unattractive." She claimed you would never be accepted by our select group. "What gives? Are you acting so naively? Is it true that you're so concerned that my presence here would damage your reputation? The fact that I bring joy to your son is important to you, is it?" As I tried to control my feelings, I asked, "If happiness made money, everyone would be rich." She pointed out, "That's exactly why you'll never fit in with us." On the other hand, I value people for who they truly are, so maybe I will never be as superficial as you are. You failed miserably in your attempt to know me prior to passing judgment on me, I told you. "Ella, that's sufficient," Larry said, taking out a sum of money. "Here, use this cash to hail a cab." "Leave," he yelled, forcefully placing the cash in my hands. I watched in disbelief as he returned his attention to his mother. Evidently pleased, she gave me a knowing grin. I turned and walked out, tears streaming down my face. The whole way home on the elevator, I sobbed. Why Larry had transformed into someone else was a mystery to me. After what transpired at the party, was this his attempt to appease his parents? For some reason, I was very wounded and furious. Instead of protecting me like he usually has, Larry was fine with his parents taking advantage of my history. What had gone wrong between us? I wanted to yell and scream at him, but I restrained myself because I knew it would make matters worse and confirm their accusations against me. So I went away perplexed. I felt quite justified in saying what I did, even though I was aware that it was forceful. I maintained my composure because I was only defending myself. Just as soon as Larry returned home, he resumed his policy of ignoring me. My spirit was crushed, and I was completely isolated. I couldn't bring myself to apologize again, even though I knew he was expecting it. Just like before, Amy had utterly humiliated me, and Larry was fuming with rage because of it. He seemed like the one who should have apologized. Larry and I were silent for the subsequent 3 weeks. I had a hard time adjusting to the quiet at first, but eventually I did. Larry continued to go out to dine with his family every week while I remained at home. To be honest, I was perfectly content to be alone. On one of those evenings, my parents video called me. "Hey, honey," my dad said, his face lighting up as he spoke. "Hello, darling. Are you okay?" Mom asked with a touch of concern in her voice. "Hi, Dad." "Hi, Mom." I hesitated, then admitted, "Things aren't exactly great." "Why? What's the matter, sweetie? If there's anything we can help with, just let us know," Dad said earnestly. I sighed. "I don't think it's something you guys can help with, but thank you." "Is Larry helping out at all?" Mom asked, a hint of skepticism in her tone. "That's the thing. He's actually part of the problem," I admitted, feeling my frustration resurface. "Oh, honey, what's going on?" Mom's voice softened. "Well, his family, they're wealthy and very elite," I explained. Dad grimaced slightly. "I can't stand people like that." "I get it. In their eyes, I'm just a poor girl who doesn't belong in their world. Every time I'm around them, they try to make me feel small," I confessed. "Oh, really? That's awful." Mom gasped. "Yeah, last time I was at their house, Larry's mom called me an orphan, like it was some kind of insult," I said, the hurt still fresh. "That woman, the audacity to call my daughter an orphan. I want to march over and give her a piece of my mind." Mom fumed. "Do they even know we exist? And what about Larry? What did he say?" I sighed. "I've kept you both out of it because I didn't want them to judge me based on your success. I wanted them to accept me for who I am, not where I come from. And Larry, he actually took their side. He thinks I was rude for standing up for myself." Dad's expression softened. "Sweetheart, are you sure this is the man you want to be with?" "I don't want things to be this way. I really love him, but we haven't even spoken in 3 weeks," I admitted. "All right, honey. If nothing else, your mom and I are here for you. Maybe we can even help in a small way," Dad offered, his tone gentle. Mom's face lit up mischievously. "I think we could help you get a little sweet revenge, too." "What?" I blinked, taken aback. "What do you mean?" "Next week, your dad and I are coming to visit," Mom said. "We'll spend some time with you and maybe skip the visit to Larry." My eyes widened with excitement. "Really? I can't wait to see you both in person." For the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely happy. Dad then started explaining his plan to help me. "So, where do Larry's family usually have their gatherings?" he asked. "They alternate between their home and a few upscale restaurants," I informed him. Fortunately, the next family dinner was planned at a restaurant during my parents' visit. Since Larry's parents liked to send everything via email, I easily accessed the address and passed it along to my folks. At the same time, Mom's lawyer friend reached out to me, and we quietly began the divorce proceedings. When my parents arrived, they treated me to lunch, then sent me off to a spa day as a surprise, insisting I deserved it. Meanwhile, they prepared to make a surprise appearance at Larry's family dinner. As Larry and his family settled into the restaurant, my parents walked in. Dad later shared every detail with me, describing how Adam and Amy's whispers died down as they approached the table. "Hello," Dad greeted, a broad grin on his face. "Mr. Jeremy? What a surprise. Did someone invite you here?" Amy stammered, feigning innocence. "Well, I saw some familiar faces, so I thought I'd drop by," he said with a wink. Amy's composure faltered. "Familiar faces? Who exactly?" Dad glanced across the table at Larry. "Oh, I see Larry here." Larry, visibly uncomfortable, offered a polite smile. "Hello, sir. It's nice to meet you. Ella has spoken highly of you." "Speaking of my daughter, where is she?" Dad's eyebrow arched with a subtle hint of challenge. Amy forced a smile. "Your daughter? Well, she isn't here. But she should be, don't you think?" Adam stammered. "We didn't know your daughter existed, Mr. Jeremy." Dad's tone grew more assertive. "I do have a daughter. She's married to Larry." Amy looked bewildered. "What are you saying? Larry's wife, Ella, is your daughter?" "Yes," Dad replied firmly. "And for the record, she's not an orphan. We adopted her." "Excuse me, your dad?" His voice trembling, Adam questioned. "Indeed, I am. Plus, Ella isn't here tonight as far as I can tell. I can see why she was so down about the in-laws. I've heard about their troubles. The issue is obviously with you," my dad stated with conviction. "No, the problem is that she kept this huge secret from us." Amy was ecstatic. "If we had known, we would have treated her better." "She didn't want you to be nice to her just because of her background," said my father. "Oh, well," Amy muttered under her breath, her anxiety plainly visible. "Ella asked me to give something to Larry," my dad explained as he pulled out an envelope. Larry, trembling, opened it after receiving it from him. Divorce papers were it. Without saying a word after that, my dad stormed out of the restaurant. Things began to change after just a few phone conversations. Investors started fleeing Adam's company as soon as word got out through my dad's influential ties. A catastrophe was imminent for his company. As they stared down on me, it was weirdly satisfying to see their world fall apart. Then Larry's relatives began texting me in droves. Some of them were very insulting, calling me names and other derogatory terms. Everyone else was pleading with me to confront my dad and make him regret his actions, but by then it was too late. The fact that Larry kept quiet regarding the divorce is a blessing. The paperwork was signed by him without any problem. That was it. My family and I went on an extended vacation once everything calmed down. It served my purpose perfectly. Lounging around and enjoying my folks' company was the most enjoyable experience of my life. After everything that transpired, I started to get better one day. Even though it was heartbreaking, I learned from my loss of the person I believed to be my soulmate that I needed to fight for what I believed in, no matter how difficult it was. For all that they'd done, my parents have my eternal gratitude. I am filled with anticipation for the future because they taught me the meaning of true love and support.
Hi, I'm Amanda, a 38-year-old marketing executive. I thought I was living the American dream with my husband, John, and our son, Tyler. We have a nice house in the suburbs, and I've always taken pride in being smart with our money. But sometimes, even the best laid plans can take a hard hit. It was a typical Sunday afternoon when my father-in-law, Richard, showed up for our weekly family dinner. As usual, he walked in like he owned the place, throwing his usual criticisms around. Amanda, dear, don't you think it's time to update this living room? It's looking a bit dated, he said with his signature condescending smile. I bit my tongue and forced a smile. We like it just fine, Richard. John, ever the peacekeeper, quickly chimed in. Dad, come on, let's just enjoy dinner, all right? As we sat down to eat, Richard shifted to his favorite topic, money. So, how's the college fund for young Tyler coming along? I couldn't help feeling a bit proud. It's going well, actually. We've been saving since he was born. But Richard scoffed, saving in this economy. You're practically losing money. I held my ground. We're being cautious. This is Tyler's future we're talking about. Caution never made anyone rich, Richard declared, undeterred. I could double that money in no time with the right investments. I noticed the spark in John's eyes and a pit formed in my stomach. Honey, we've discussed this. Our current plan is working just fine. But Richard wouldn't let it go, spending the rest of the evening regaling us with tales of his financial prowess, each one more grandiose than the last. Later that night, while John and I were cleaning up, he dropped a bombshell. You know, maybe we should let Dad handle some of Tyler's college fund. He does have a lot of experience. I stared at him, stunned. Are you serious? We've worked so hard for this. What's the harm in letting him invest a portion of it? John pressed. He knows what he's doing. We argued for what felt like hours, but in the end, against every instinct I had, I gave in. The next day, I reluctantly transferred a substantial chunk of Tyler's college fund to Richard. Not long after, things started to feel off. The numbers just weren't adding up. I tried reaching out to Richard, but he always had an excuse. Richard, we need to talk about the investment. Oh, Amanda, darling, I'm about to head into a meeting. I'll call you back. But he never did. After weeks of this runaround, I knew I had to take matters into my own hands. Feeling like a character in some twisted crime drama, I hired a private investigator. When the PI's report landed on my desk, my world shattered. Richard, the man who'd lectured me on financial responsibility, had blown through her money on gambling. He was nothing but a degenerate gambler. I stormed into the bedroom, where John was reading. Your father, I spat, throwing the report at him. He's lost almost everything. John looked up, confused. What are you talking about? The college fund, John, it's gone. Your father's been gambling it away. He shook his head, disbelieving. No, that can't be right. Dad wouldn't do that. Wouldn't he? Read the report. As he pored over the details, his face shifted from disbelief to shock and finally to anger. This can't be real. There has to be some mistake. The only mistake was trusting him with our son's future, I said, my voice shaking with frustration. John stood, his voice rising to meet mine. How was I supposed to know? He's my father, for Christ's sake. That's exactly why we shouldn't have trusted him. You know how he is, always thinking he knows best. Our argument raged, each of us wrestling with the betrayal in our own way. John torn between loyalty to his father and the damning evidence, me furious with both Richard and myself for letting this happen. Finally, exhausted, we sat on the edge of the bed, the weight of our new reality settling over us. What are we going to do? John asked quietly. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. We fight. We find a way to fix this for Tyler. John nodded, reaching for my hand. I'm so sorry, Amanda. I should have listened to you. We both made this decision, I said, squeezing his hand. But now we need to make it right. As we sat there, the enormity of what we'd lost hit me. 70% of Tyler's college fund, gone. Years of careful saving, of sacrifices and hard work, vanished because of one man's addiction. We need to tell Tyler, I said, dreading the conversation ahead. John nodded, guilt etched across his face. And we need to confront my father. The thought of facing Richard made my blood boil, but I knew it had to be done, for our family, for Tyler's future, and to ensure Richard could never do this to anyone else again. The next morning, I was up at dawn, my mind racing. I called in sick to work and spent the day making calls. First to our lawyer, then preparing myself for the conversation I dreaded most, with Tyler. When he got home from school, he looked at me, concerned. Mom, what's going on? You look terrible. I patted the couch beside me. Sit down, honey. We need to talk. As I explained what had happened, I watched Tyler's face fall. But what about college? All my plans. We're going to figure this out, I promised, pulling him into a hug. I'm so sorry, Tyler. He pulled back, eyes wet but resolute. It's not your fault, Mom. It's Grandpa Richard's. We'll get through this together. His maturity nearly broke me, but I held it together. We had to be strong. Meanwhile, John was confronting his father. When he returned home, he looked like he'd aged 10 years. How'd it go? I asked gently. John sank into a chair. He cried, Amanda. Said he was sorry, that he'd pay us back. But I don't know if I believe him anymore. Sorry doesn't cut it, I snapped. We need real solutions. That's when I decided we'd need a family meeting. It was time to face this head on. When Richard arrived, the tension in our living room was thick. Tyler sat between John and me on the couch, a united front. Richard took his place in the armchair, looking humbled. I'm glad we're all here, I began. We need to discuss how we're going to fix this mess. Richard leaned forward, contrite. I know I made a terrible mistake, but I promise I'll make it right. I'll sell my car, I cut him off. It's not enough, Richard. You've lost nearly everything. How exactly do you plan to repay us? His calm demeanor cracked. Well, if you trusted me more in the first place, we wouldn't be in this situation. Excuse me? I felt my blood pressure rise. You heard me, Richard sneered. Always so controlling with the money. If you'd let me invest it from the start. John jumped in. Dad, that's enough. You can't blame Amanda for your gambling addiction. Gambling addiction? Richard scoffed. Don't be dramatic. I made a few bad bets, that's all, and now you're all ganging up on me. Amanda's turned you against me, hasn't she? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You lost our son's future, and you're trying to blame me? Then Tyler stood up, hurt and angry. Grandpa, how could you do this to us? To me. For a moment, Richard's face softened, then it hardened again. You'll understand when you're older, Tyler. Sometimes adults have to make tough decisions. That was the last straw. I stood up, pointing to the door. Get out, now. Amanda, John began, but I shook my head. No, he's not welcome here anymore. Not after this. As Richard left, sputtering excuses, I felt an enormous weight lift off my shoulders. We figured this out without him. Little did we know, karma was already catching up with him. A week later, we got a call from a family friend. Richard had been caught trying to embezzle from the country club's charity fund and had been expelled in disgrace, his reputation in tatters. Yes, his luck finally ran out, John said, shaking his head. I couldn't help but feel a grim satisfaction. Richard had dug his own grave, and now he was lying in it. As for us, we had a long road ahead, but at least now we were free from Richard's toxic influence. It was time to focus on rebuilding our lives and securing Tyler's future on our own terms. The day after the confrontation, I changed the locks and blocked Richard's number. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Are you sure about this? John asked, worry creasing his forehead. Absolutely, I replied firmly. We can't let him hurt us anymore. In the weeks that followed, Richard tried everything, calling from unknown numbers, showing up unannounced, even sending a tearful letter. But we stood firm. After another attempt one night, John sighed heavily. You know, I think you're right. Dad's always been toxic. I guess I just never wanted to see it. I squeezed his hand. I know it's hard, but we're doing the right thing. John also stepped up in a big way, picking up weekend shifts at a local hardware store. It's not glamorous, he said, but every little bit helps, right? Months flew by. Between my side gig as a financial consultant, John's extra job, and Tyler's scholarships, we were slowly but surely rebuilding our savings. 1 year after the Richard fiasco, we gathered for a family meeting. This time, a happy one. I can't believe it, Tyler said, staring at the financial statement. We've almost replaced everything Grandpa Richard lost. We did it together, I said, a lump forming in my throat, as a family. Just then, John's phone buzzed. His face went pale as he read the message. What is it? I asked. It's Dad. He's been arrested for fraud. Looks like he tried to pull the same stunt with someone else's money. We sat in stunned silence. Then Tyler spoke up. I know it's wrong, but I'm kind of glad he's finally facing the consequences. I nodded. It's okay to feel that way, Tyler. What he did was terrible. As summer came to a close, it was time for Tyler to head off to college. Standing in his dorm room surrounded by boxes, I felt a mix of pride and nostalgia. I can't believe we made it, John said, looking around in awe. Tyler hugged us both. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for everything. As we drove home, I thought about how far we'd come. We have faced betrayal, financial ruin, and heartbreak, But we'd also discovered a strength we didn't know we had. We protected our family, secured Tyler's future, and emerged stronger. And Richard, he was finally facing the consequences of his actions alone and disgraced. As we pulled into our driveway, a sense of peace washed over me. We had weathered the storm, and our family was stronger for it. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew we could face them together. And now I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have given Richard a second chance after he admitted to his gambling addiction and promised to repay the money? Or do you think cutting toxic family members out of your life is the right move, no matter how much they claim to have changed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hey there, I'm Amelia. I'm 28 and working my tail off at this fancy advertising firm in Chicago. I've been hustling my way up the corporate ladder for the past 3 years, and let me tell you, it's no joke. But hey, ambition takes grit, right? Amelia, you got those reports ready? That's Michael, my boss, always breathing down my neck. Just finishing up, Michael. They'll be on your desk in 10. I swear, that man's got it out for me. But I'm not backing down. I've got dreams, and I'm here to make them happen. Now, let me tell you about my real MVP, my twin sister, Olivia. We've been thick as thieves, through hell and back. What do you think about these centerpieces? Her voice crackles through the phone while I'm flipping through design mock-ups. The purple ones are gorgeous. Your wedding's going to be amazing, sis. Olivia and I, we're each other's rocks. After our parents' messy divorce, we could have drifted apart, but it only brought us closer. Now she's getting hitched, and I couldn't be prouder. Amelia, got a sec. That's James, my cubicle buddy, popping his head over the wall. Sure, what's up? Michael's on the warpath again, just a heads up. I roll my eyes. Thanks for the warning. What's his issue this time? James shrugs. Who knows? Maybe the coffee machine looked at him funny. We share a laugh, but there's tension in the air. Michael's always been on my case like he sees me as some kind of threat. If he only knew how much I've already got on my plate. Later, I grab a quick lunch with Sarah from HR. She's one of the good ones. How are you holding that, Amelia? She asks, a concerned look on her face. I sigh, poking at my salad. Hanging in there. Michael's been, well, Michael. But I'm not letting him get to me. Sarah nods sympathetically. You know you can always come to me if things get out of hand, right? I know, and I really appreciate it. On my way home, my phone buzzes. It's Daniel, my F&K and personal cheerleader. Hey, babe. How was your day? I smile. Oh, you know, the usual corporate circus. How about you, Mr. Software Engineer? I solved a bug that's been haunting us for weeks. Small victories, right? That's my guy, saving the day one line of code at a time. We chat about dinner plans and Olivia's wedding. Daniel's been my rock through all this career craziness. Always there, always supportive. As I hang up, though, I can't shake the feeling that something's brewing at work. I'm Amelia Parker. I've survived divorced parents, cutthroat bosses, and bridezilla moments. But little did I know, a storm was coming that would test everything. My career, my relationships, and my integrity. That Monday morning, I walked into the office, still buzzing with wedding details from the weekend, completely unaware of what lay ahead. Parker, my office. Now. Michael's voice boomed across the floor. Sighing, I straightened my blazer and headed to his office. What's up, Michael? He didn't even look up. Sit down. We've got a situation. I perched on the edge of the chair, a knot already forming in my stomach. What kind of situation? Titanium Inc. wants a pitch 2 weeks from Saturday. My heart sank, but that's my sister's wedding. He finally looked at me, his gaze cold. You're doing the pitch? No, Michael, I can't. I'm the maid of honor. I have to be there. He leaned back, a smirk playing on his lips. Well, you have a choice to make, Parker, your sister's wedding or your job. Because if you're not here for that pitch, don't bother coming back on Monday. I felt like I'd been sucker punched. You can't be serious. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Parker. Deal with it. I stormed out, my mind spinning. In the hallway, I bumped into James. Wow, Amelia, you look like you've seen a ghost. I pulled him into the break room, spilling everything. He listened, his expression growing darker by the second. That's messed up, Em. You've got to talk to HR. And say what? It's my word against his. Then document everything, every conversation, every email, and definitely talk to Sarah. I nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. Thanks, James. I don't know what I'd do without you. Later that day, I caught up with Sarah in the cafeteria. Got a minute? I asked, my voice barely concealing the desperation I felt. She looked up, her expression softening. Of course, Amelia. What's wrong? I took a breath and spilled everything. Michael's ultimatum, the impossible choice he forced on me. Sarah's face grew serious as she listened. Amelia, this is a clear violation of company policy. We need to address this immediately. But what can we do? I asked, feeling helpless. It's just my word against his. Sarah leaned in, her voice low. Document everything. There might be more going on than you realize. I've been hearing things about Michael. My curiosity sparked. What kind of things? She hesitated. I can't say much yet, but keep your eyes open. And be careful. That night, I stayed late, combing through old files. What I found made my blood boil. Project after project where my ideas were presented as Michael's and performance reports doctored to make me look incompetent. As I was leaving, I heard voices coming from the copy room. I froze. It was Jessica, our new intern, and she was crying. I can't take it anymore. The way he looks at me, the things he says. She sobbed. My heart dropped. Was she talking about Michael? The next day, I pulled Jessica aside. Hey, you okay? I couldn't help overhearing yesterday. She looked terrified. Please, don't say anything. I can't lose this internship. Jessica, if something's happening, you need to report it. She shook her head, eyes wide with fear. You don't understand. He said he'd ruin my career before it even started. My resolve hardened. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about all of us. I decided then. I was going to my sister's wedding, consequences be damned. But I wasn't going down without a fight. I spent the next week preparing the most comprehensive pitch handover of my life, every detail and contingency planned. Then, I did something that terrified me. I went over Michael's head. Mr. Johnson, do you have a moment? I asked, catching the CEO just before a meeting. He looked surprised. Of course, Amelia. What can I do for you? I took a deep breath. Sir, I need to talk to you about the titanium ink pitch, and some concerns I have about the work environment. As I laid it all out, I saw storm clouds gathering in Mr. Johnson's eyes. By the time I left his office, I knew that things were about to change, for better or worse. I had lit the fuse. Now, all I could do was wait for the explosion. That Saturday, I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my maid of honor dress, my stomach in knots. Today was Olivia's big day, but I couldn't shake the worry about work. You look gorgeous, Olivia beamed, appearing behind me. I forced a smile. Not as stunning as you, sis. You ready to do this? The ceremony was beautiful, and as I watched Olivia exchange vows, a wave of peace washed over me. I'd made the right choice by being here. During the reception, my phone buzzed. I snuck away to answer. Amelia, thank God, came James's panicked voice. Michael's a no-show. We're scrambling here. My heart raced. What? He didn't show up at all. No. The client's here, and we're flying blind. I took a deep breath. James, remember the handover I prepared? Everything you need is in there. You've got this. But Amelia, listen to me. You know this pitch inside and out. I believe in you. After calming him down, I returned to the party, trying to push work from my mind. That's when I spotted a familiar face. Amelia Parker, is that you? I turned, and there he was, John, my old college buddy. John, what are you doing here? Friend of the groom, he said, grinning. What's new with you? Still at Dynamics? We chatted, catching up like no time had passed. Then John dropped a bombshell. You still working under Michael Reeves? Man, that guy's been making waves. I froze. What do you mean? John leaned in, lowering his voice. He's been interviewing at our firm. Rumor has it he's planning to jump ship and bring some big clients with him. My mind raced, but before I could fully process this, my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Amelia, I can't take it anymore. I have proof of what Michael's been doing. Can we talk? I excused myself and found a quiet corner to call her. Jessica. My voice was urgent. What's going on? Her voice trembled on the other end. I've been keeping records of everything. The harassment, the dodgy finances. I think he's been embezzling. My head spun. Jessica, this is huge. We need to take this to HR, to the CEO. I'm scared, Amelia, she whispered. What if? I spoke firmly. I'll protect you, Jessica. We'll do this together. Hanging up, I felt a mix of dread and determination. Michael's house of cards was about to come crashing down. I returned to the wedding, plastering on a smile. Olivia and I were dancing when she squeezed my hand, her eyes filled with concern. Everything okay, sis? I nodded, a surge of love for my twin filling my chest. Yeah, just some work stuff. But don't worry, I've got it handled. As the night wound down, I received one last message from James. We did it, Amelia. The client loved the pitch. You're a lifesaver. I smiled, the weight of uncertainty lifting off my shoulders. Tomorrow would bring its own battles, but tonight, I celebrated my sister's happiness and my own small victory. Monday morning, I walked into the office, my head high but my stomach in knots. I'd barely slept, bracing for the confrontation with Michael. But as I approached his office, I was met with a surprise. Amelia, good morning. Can you join me in the conference room? It was Mr. Johnson, our CEO. Confused, I followed him. Of course, sir. Is everything all right? He gestured for me to sit. First, I want to commend you on the titanium ink pitch. The team did an excellent job, thanks largely to your preparation. I nodded, still wary. Thank you, sir. But, where's Michael? Mr. Johnson's expression darkened. That's what I wanted to discuss. Some concerning information has come to light. I understand you have something to add. This was my moment. I took a deep breath and laid it all out. The ultimatum, the stolen credit, John's revelation about Michael's job hunting, and finally, Jessica's evidence. Mr. Johnson listened intently, his expression growing graver by the minute. Amelia, I want you to know we take these allegations very seriously. An internal investigation is already underway. What happens now? I asked. For now, Michael has been suspended pending the investigation. As for you, Amelia, I'd like you to temporarily take over his responsibilities. My head spun. Me? But sir. He held up a hand. You've more than proven yourself, Amelia. The team respects you, and you've shown exceptional leadership. Michael and his toxic influence were gone, leaving room for a stronger, more ethical company and a version of myself I could be proud of. As Olivia would say, that's what I call a happy ending. The story's over, but I've got a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have risked your job to attend your twin's wedding, or would you have stayed to make the pitch? What would you have done differently? Let me know in the comments below.